One thing I really love about this series is that we, as the audience, are constantly learning more and more about the lore of the Steven universe, just as Steven does. This includes even his own powers and abilities. When the show first begins, Steven is still trying to get a hold of his powers and figure out what it is he can and can't do. As the series progresses, both the audience and our innocent hero discover the extent of his powers and what it is he's capable of, all thanks to Rose. It's been strongly hinted at and even offhandedly mentioned that Steven's powers are connected to his emotions. This is something that—
minor leak spoilers ahead, you have been warned. Leave now, or fast forward a little bit, whatever you're comfortable with.
This is something that has been 100% confirmed in the latest episode, Steven Floats. Here we see that Steven is able to float when he's feeling happy and descend when he's feeling not so happy. So if all of Steven's powers have to do with his emotions, then why is it he's able to take over the bodies of Watermelon Stevens, Steven can word confirmed, and even telepathically talk to the cluster? Well, I propose that we've seen him utilize the emotion that triggers this ability many times, rather his understanding of others' emotion. I believe that Steven has some sort of quote-unquote enhanced empathy, which allows him to connect with gems telepathically. Let's take a look. Steven has always shown a strong sense of sympathy, forgiveness, and compassion towards every living creature. This includes even his enemies. Like his mother, he sees the beauty and the good, or potential for good, in everyone. Despite Lars being a jerk most of the time, Steven still consistently treats him with kindness. Even as much as Steven does not like Onion, he still tried to understand him, even if only briefly. And in his own way, he still managed to make some sort of connection. But what about other gems? Well, one of the biggest episodes to showcase Steven's empathy was Monster Buddies, where he befriended the Centipedal. He somehow was able to know what she was feeling and even managed to train her. And yet the rest of the crystal gems were constantly trying to attack the Centipedal, seeing her only as a monster. But Steven was the only one who managed to see past that. In Mirror Gems, Steven was also the only one to see that the mirror was more than just a tool, and it turns out he was right. It was Steven who took the time to talk to Lapis and get a grasp of what her motives were, because he saw that she wasn't a bad person. He saw that she was hurting and he helped her, while the other gems saw her strictly as an enemy, not someone who should be reasoned with. Which, side note, is actually a really good lesson to take away. In life, things aren't always black and white. People aren't always just good and evil. There are layers. If people were more like Steven and stopped to think about where other people were coming from instead of acting on their own personal biases, I think we would live in a more productive and peaceful world. Granted, she did literally try to kill them, but you know, these things happen. Anyway, when we first meet Peridot, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl are terrified of her, rightfully so, but Steven was somehow happy to see her. When she said her name, he was excited to learn more about her. Even after knowing the terrible things the Homeworld gems were most likely going to do, he still had the hope that maybe they would see how beautiful the Earth is and choose not to do any harm. And it was him that helped Peridot actually see the beauty in the world. It was Steven that helped her change her ways and gain a new perspective of Earth. Now let's move on to him actually using his telepathy, or telempathy, if you will. Yep, that's my word now. The word telepathy is trademarked by Michael Williams. Every time you say that word, you owe me $8. We see that in his dreams, he was able to communicate with Lapis, and by extension, Jasper, in the Malachite realm. At first, he thought it was just his imagination, but it turned out to be the real deal. Fans have wondered how on earth this was possible, but I think we now have our answer. Steven's powers are tied to his emotions. This suggests that Steven has such a strong connection to life, especially gems, that he's able to literally go into the minds of gems and communicate with them. We obviously see this again when Steven and Peridot try to drill the cluster. With that huge amount of gem shards all in one place, all getting hurt by the drill, Steven was absolutely overwhelmed because he is inherently connected to each and every one of those shards. And this is why he unintentionally passed out and was able to talk to the cluster from within. This also somewhat explains why he's able to take control of the bodies of the Watermelon Stevens. There's also a common theme here. Steven is never awake when he does this, meaning his telepathy can only be done when he's asleep or passed out. Does this mean that if he tapped into his ability, he truly could go by way of Bran Stark and control the bodies of practically any living being? Could we even see him take control of one of the diamonds in the future? Or can he only control the Watermelon Stevens because they're part of him? This question remains to be answered. Regardless, I find this power to be Steven's most intriguing so far. I'm really excited to see how it plays out in the future. I also love how all of his abilities fit his personality so perfectly. Maybe we'll make a video about that one day. But that wraps it up for this video. Let us know what you think about this observation in the comments down below. We'd also like to give a special thanks to our patrons. The more support we get, the more content we can put out for you guys. And faster. I've been Michael Williams, owner of the term Telepathy, and you've been watching Cartoon Universe. If you want more Steven Universe theories, be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.